When you are with her, you can be present. And what was this mom's response? I bet you it's the same as what you might be feeling, which is that is really hard. Being present, truly, truly present with our kids is hard because the truth is that we are preoccupied. We're thinking about how things are going or what needs to happen next or what am I going to do when this happens or if this XYZ thing happens. Welcome to Confessions of a Parent Coach. I'm parent coach, mother of four, and your host, Ann Kaplan. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Welcome into the podcast this week, dear listeners. And I hope you loved my amazing singing voice. It usually sounds a little bit better than that, but I have gone straight from having nonstop sickness throughout the whole winter to this like peak allergy day in Denver. So I'm never not nasal anymore, apparently. But why, oh, why did I start the episode today with me singing of all things? I am going to circle back to that little chant later on in today's episode. What we're going to talk about today has so much to do with exactly that concept that song touches on, and I've named this episode, at least in my mind, Return Again. And that is a little excerpt from a song that I will sing actually the whole version of it at the very end of the podcast today. So you don't have to listen to the whole thing, but you can if you want. That is a song that was written by a Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, who wrote this idea or this song about this idea of kind of coming back home spiritually, because obviously he's a rabbi. I learned about the song during when I joined my current temple during the fall when we have the our high holy days. So we have Rosh Hashanah and then we have Yom Kippur. And the 10 days between those two holidays is this time when we are meant to sort of like take stock of the year, the previous year, and notice where we've sort of gone astray and return again back to a righteous, so to speak, path. And in Judaism, that means making amends with people that you've wronged and then coming, and bringing that sort of like regret and healing and return to your spiritual practice. And that concept of like never actually being, okay, here I am. I'm on the right path forever and ever is really not how life works at all in any way, shape, or form. And weaving in this idea of going astray and coming back, leaving your center, coming back to your center, it shows up in so many different arenas of life, not just parenting, but life in general. And especially as we're doing our personal growth work, the applicability of this concept to sort of almost like bridge between personal growth work and parenting improvement. This concept of returning again, like leaving your center and coming back to your center, is so germane. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And hopefully I can make it through the whole podcast without having to sneeze or I literally just took a shower like an hour ago and neti potted in the shower, everything, but it just doesn't matter. It feels like I'm smuggling dust bunnies in my nose right now. And I guess that's just how it's going to be. That's how we know. I'm recording this episode in the beginning of March. Oh, there we go. We're in the beginning of the springtime. It's time to smuggle dust bunnies in your nose, apparently. So we'll see. We'll see how far I get in this recording before I have to pause the recording to blow my nose or something like that. And I know you'll all bear with me as I navigate all of that fun stuff. So as always, start with my confession. My confession is not that I'm a terrible singer, although that might be your conclusion that you've drawn from this episode so far. But my confession is about my own sort of leaving and returning. So I meditate, even though if you listen to my podcast episode around New Year's, you heard me talk about like intentions versus resolutions and things like that. And I'm not a huge like New Year's resolution kind of person. Um, I did this year set an intention for myself to be more daily with my meditation practice. And so that's something that I've been really dedicated to since the new year. And so I in general meditate every I use the Headspace app. Is not I am not like some fancy Zen guru floating on a lotus flower type of person at all. It's very, very down to earth, my meditation practice. I wake up, I go to the bathroom in the morning, I come back to bed, I get all cozy back up in my bed, I put my headphones in and I do a Headspace meditation. And I don't sit up even though you're supposed to. I lay down, all of that stuff. And I do like a 15-minute Headspace meditation. And that's my daily practice. But my confession for you about my daily practice is that during those 15 minutes, I maybe have 30 seconds total, like cumulative over the course of those 15 minutes, where I'm actually, in that present energetic state and not either planning for the future or thinking about something that happened yesterday or noticing that whatever, my feet are cold or my blanket is scratchy or whatever. So this like return again concept is very, very prominent in my daily life, especially during that 15 minutes. In fact, I thought of this confession for you when I knew I was going to be recording this episode today while I was meditating. I was like, oh, well, I really sometimes have pretty crappy meditations where I'm just like not really present the whole time. And that would be a good confession. Oh, I'm recording a podcast episode today. And oh, that would be the great confession for this topic that I'm going to be doing. And then like all of a sudden I'm like, what am I doing? I'm doing it right now, and come back to the center. And so I wanted to make it clear, like even super practice evolved meditation people who are like doing this stuff all of the time, like their meditated practice every day is the same. It is a going astray and coming home, going astray, coming home over and over and over again. What changes over time is how quickly you notice that you've kind of gotten distracted, and your ability to come back to center more quickly. So in a really weird way, the better you are at meditation, the more frequently you're going astray, because you go astray, you come back. You go astray, you come back. Whereas when you first start meditating, you go astray and you just stay astray. You stay lost in your own musings for, the whole 15 minutes or for a really long time before you're like, oh, wait a minute, what am I doing? Right. So the mark of a really great, practitioner when it comes to meditation is that they're actually doing that even more frequently than a novice is in a crazy way. This like leave and come back again. And this whole topic has been so, sort of woven around in a lot of my coaching work over the last month or so. And it really started with a group call. So you may know that I run a group program. There's all these different ways to work with me. I work one-on-one with people, I work with couples or parenting dyads or co-parents. And then I also run a group program. And then you always also know that I run my retreat every fall, and that is a whole nother way people work with me. So my group program is where this topic, kind of first emerged as something that I might want to talk to you all about in my podcast. And it was because I had a client who came to the call, and she had a question about, she had noticed that her daughter just, for whatever reason, her daughter's personality, she kind of craves drama and chaos. But mom could also tell that she needs quiet and calm moments, even though that's not what she's going to choose. And so the question that she was really bringing to group was like, how can I support her and help her learn to, feel secure and okay and settled when things are not wild and chaotic. How can I create some peace and structure, predictability and security, those kinds of things? I think these are questions that we all have asked ourselves sometimes. And when we watch one of our kids just be kind of like whatever, JoJo the circus clown, if whether that's their personality or just the way that they're being right now, we often will look at that and be like, how can I infuse some calm and like grounding into this vibe? Right. So, really normal question. And then this mom even took it further because she is super self aware and has done a lot of her own self work. So, she was basically saying, like, I'm really not a person who's super great with like rhythm and structure. Like, I want to bring this thing to her so that she doesn't go out into the world and create like chaos for herself, as a young adult, or create chaotic relationships and things like that. But I also recognize like it's not really my strong suit. And there's a lot of different kind of ways that we explored this. And I'm not going to go down too many rabbit holes today because I want to stay really focused on this return again concept. But part of what we talked about, and I'm actually going to do a different podcast episode about this in the future, is how do we look at creatively at things like structure and consistency and predictability so that we can honor like who we are as parents and not tell ourselves like, well, I need to be a type A, super structured, routine and schedule kind of person, or else I'm a bad parent. Instead, like, how can we look at that and say, well, this is actually who I am, and I'm not going to ever not be that. But I also don't believe that that means I'm a bad parent. How can I bring this like sort of grounded structure to my parenting in a way that actually honors who I am? So that's another conversation that we had during the group call, but it's not a conversation that we're going to rehash today, because the other thing that happened as we started talking about that is basically what I told her, and you maybe have heard this from me before, is that outside of any other sort of structured consistency, the most important kind of consistency our kids will ever get in their lives is their consistency that they have with us, their relationship with us being a constant in their lives. Not in the sense of like every day mom gets up at 9 a.m. If that's you, cool. Or let's be honest, who gets up at 9 a.m.? Most of the time it's like 7, but whatever, or 6 or 5. If that's you, that's cool. But that's a different kind of consistency that we were talking about. It was more like the consistency of like, whatever happens, my parent is a safe space for me. My parent is present, etc. And when we started talking about this concept, this mom was saying, consistency of presence is really a challenge for me right now, because in this particular family, there were some pretty chaotic things going on with another sibling and some extended family. And so, life wasn't predictable. I can't necessarily be consistently present. And she even said, I'm going to give myself a C+ in that department. I'm like, okay, let's talk about that. And here's where this return again concept comes in, because all we can ever ask of ourselves is the best we can do. That's it. And it is going to be messy and imperfect. It doesn't really require you to go from a C- to an A+. We can look at, well, what's like one step better? What would take you from a C- to a C, for example? And to remember that presence, and here now you can start to see the Venn diagram of this sort of like return idea and the meditation idea. Presence is the most important thing. It does not really, like what this mom is looking for and what our children need from us doesn't actually require us to do anything. And you may have heard my episode a few weeks ago where I talked about like good parenting is more about being than about doing. This kind of presence and consistency, and that ability to kind of be this calm presence that would infuse that sort of structure and consistency and predictability into her daughter's life. It doesn't require her to do anything, but to just be present with her kiddo. And then what's the response to that? I bet you're having the same responses to this information that this mom did. It's like, well, how can I be, you know, how can I create some peace and structure even though I'm kind of a wild child? Okay, well, all you need to do is be consistently present with your child. okay, well, that's really a challenge for me because my life isn't predictable and I might have to, kind of do something at a moment's notice because of some of the tumult that's in our family. So I'm not doing well in that department. I give myself a C plus. And then it's like, okay, well, just remember, this isn't about you doing anything. It's just about you being present with her. And when you are with her, you can be present. And what was this mom's response? I bet you it's the same as what you might be feeling, which is that is really hard. Being present, truly, truly present with our kids is hard because the truth is that we are preoccupied. We're thinking about how things are going or what needs to happen next or what am I going to do when this happens or if this XYZ thing happens. So you might be physically, geographically with your kiddo, but are you present? And this mom had the self awareness to say, like, actually, no, I am not present when I'm with my daughter. So, okay, we are getting really dialed in here to this idea of like, okay, the question becomes super simple. What's the most impactful thing you can do to support your kiddo in this pursuit that we want? To like infuse more grounded presence and predictability and rhythm and routine with our kids, the most impactful thing we can do is to give ourselves whatever we need in order to move that needle a tiny bit to go from I'm not present when I'm with my kid to I am partially present, to go from that C minus to a C, right? And I think the piece that we miss a lot listening to a podcast or reading some blog post or even reading a book or something like that where we're being given this advice about being more present in our day to day is that we're not only are we not asking you to go from a C minus to an A plus, we're not asking you to move the needle at all without giving yourself what you need for it to be able to move. And that gets lost. We listen to a podcast episode or whatever, read a blog post and we get the memo like I need to be better, like I need to be more present. That come on, like, whip myself into shape, right? No. That's a terrible conclusion to draw from any of the things. Like if you get my emails every week or you listen to my podcast every week or you are in my group program and I see you in the group calls, like never, ever, ever should the message you take away from these things that are that offer you like a new idea or a new approach to be just do it, be better, pull yourself up by the bootstraps. If you're not being present with your kid, well, cut that out. Be present with your kid. Terrible, terrible thing for us to take away from these things because what does that result in? It just results in us judging ourselves and being harsh with ourselves and probably being even less present, frankly, and more dysregulated. So we're never asking ourselves to move the needle on any given topic, even one tiny iota, if we're not also giving ourselves what we need to be able to move it. Me telling you to be present, that's a cool awareness and it might give you something to aim for, but probably not a whole lot more. And this is where we come back to the return again thing. Just like in a meditation, you are leaving and coming back and leaving and coming back. The same thing is happening when we're with our children and we want to be present with our children, or we want to be present in a Zoom meeting, or we want to be present at anytime in any situation you want to be present, you will not be present. There is no level of presence where you're like, okay, I got it. I'm locked in. I'm going to stay at this energetic state or this frequency now. Nope, you won't. You'll maintain it for a split second at a time, right? So the same thing is true when we're talking about presence with our children. But what's really cool is that that presence is already inside of all of us. We're not talking about go and be this thing that you're not right now. No. You have a self, you have self energy, and when your system is getting what it needs from you, all of that chatter and the interference and the stuff that distracts you, it kind of simmers down and it quiets down. And now you can bring more of that presence, that self energy to these moments with your kids. It's already in you. We're not creating anything new. We are just helping those clouds to move aside so that the sun of your self energy or your higher essence or whatever can be the thing that's shining through. So to take it back to this mom's original question of like, how can my kid be comfortable without chaos? If this is the kind of person she is, like, how can I not only just give her these more calm, present, grounded moments, but how can she then learn to feel comfortable and at home with that sort of energy? Well, the truth is, co regulation is happening whether we like it or not. That's just a phenomenon that happens because human beings are connected. We're all part of one big energetic sort of organism together. So co regulation is happening all of the time. So if we're talking about peace with our kids, it starts with peace in ourselves. When we are a peaceful presence, our children co regulate to that. So we need to spend time in the energetic state that we're hoping to foster in our children. All of these concepts, being peaceful, being consistent, being present, we aren't able to maintain them forever, right? Like I said, even in the midst of a meditation, we're not spending that whole 15-minute meditation calm and peaceful and present. We're spending 15 minutes like going off track and coming back, leaving our center, coming back to our center, leaving, coming back, returning again and again and again. If you are developing that kind of a practice, whether it's because you do a daily meditation and so this concept is in you anyway, or if you're just doing it while you're sitting next to your kid, reminding yourself to come back to present over and over again. If you're doing that, you are changing the energetic state of your nervous system, and that is going to translate. That's where it all starts. So ask yourself, am I hoping to foster something in my child that I have not fostered in myself? And how can I foster that? But if you only just take one message away from today, it's really just that we are not, it's never, ever, ever going to happen that we can maintain these energetic states consistently. It will always be a leaving and coming back. And and think about where that concept applies in all parts of your life. Like maybe you've fallen out of the habit of exercising regularly, or you've fallen out of the habit of drinking enough water, or connecting with friends, or could be meditating, or could be maybe you're listening to this right now and you're one of the people that are in my group program and you haven't been to group in a long time. Or if you're in a recovery phase of your life, maybe going to your regular meetings that help you, main your sobriety or whatever it is. Where are areas in your life where you've sort of like gone astray, and instead of being, beating yourself up about that, instead of telling yourself that you need to just be maintained in that state of like going every single week and never going astray, or I go to the gym every 4 times every week no matter what, or I have to maintain that forever. I have to maintain. Actually, sobriety is a really great example, especially with young people. When kids go through treatment and they need to be sober for their safety or whatever, the way that sobriety coaches and therapists, and even if you go to like a 12-step programs, talk about sobriety, they do not talk about it in forever terms. That's terrifying and overwhelming, and feels almost like a sentence that you've been given. We don't talk about that way. We talk about like, today, can you come back to sobriety today? um we don't need to talk about tomorrow, or even, can you come back to sobriety right now in this hour or this minute? Can you come back to a meeting? So obviously this applies in all arenas. It does not have to be something as serious or scary as addiction or sobriety. It can be something super simple, like, oh, I want to get back into the habit of making sure I'm drinking 2 liters of water every day or something like that. And I didn't do it yesterday or whatever. And I can definitely tell you this is true with the meditation thing. And I think this is why I've been way more successful this year than I have in the past, because I didn't set a New Year's resolution. Like, I'm meditating every day for 2026. If that were the case, if you looked at my Headspace app right now, if I were able to have done that, I would. So today's like early March. So that means that I would be if I started January 1st, I would have, let's see, I'm doing math on the podcast. You're going to have a glimpse into my brain. So that would be 31 plus 28. So basically, well, and it's a little bit later into March. So like I would have a 60-day streak right now on my Headspace app. Well, guess what? I don't. I think I'm at 42 or something like that. Because in the beginning, I would forget. I'd go to sleep and the next morning I'd be like, darn it, I didn't meditate yesterday or whatever. But I returned again and again to this intention that I had set for myself instead of, can I do this every single day and not mess up once? It's, can I come back when I do get, off course? Can I come back? Can I continuously come back? And it's the same thing with presence with our kids. It's the same thing with, like, if you haven't been to a group call in a while, can you come back and just plug back in again? It's like coming home, right? And the more that you do it, the less likely you are to go astray. The more quickly you realize when you do need to come back home, when you're not home, you're not on your home base anymore, all of those things. This is all we're talking about. And I really hope that energetically you hear or feel even a difference between, this is who you're supposed to be for your kid, and if you're not doing it, you're letting them down, versus this is who we want to be, and can we continuously reconnect with that idea? It's all just about coming back again. You're practicing and getting better at it and building a muscle. Just keep returning. Just come home. That's all. And if you can keep doing that, it's just so much more of a helpful mantra. And it's so helpful for me personally that that's actually something I say to myself during meditation, where I see that I've gotten off track, because my tendency used to be like, gosh darn it, what was I thinking? I got distracted. Now I've spent this whole freaking 15-minute meditation mentally redecorating my basement or something like that. And I'd be frustrated with me. Well, okay, so now I'm preoccupied with how I'm not doing a good job. And now I'm preoccupied with the fact that I'm preoccupied. And whereas being able to just say in my mind, like, return again. It's just like, oh, right. Okay. Yeah. I'm back. I'm back, and that's it. So I hope that's really helpful for you this week. If this kind of concept, if the kind of like accountability and help to reconnect, or to even figure out what is the thing you're returning to, that's a big part of some of this personal growth work. All of these concepts, if they resonate with you, I might be your person. Like, we might be meant for each other, and we probably should be having a conversation to figure that out. So set up one of those amazing consultations that you hear me talk about every week, a chance to really connect with me. Tell me what you're working on, what's made it hard so far, what is that home base that you want to get better and better at returning to over and over again, and then what is the practice that will allow you to do that. That's all the stuff that we talk about in a consultation. And I mean, for goodness sakes, it's just a chance for you and me to talk. Doesn't cost you anything, and it'll probably change your life, even if we never talk again after that. So click on the link. It's either in the show notes, in the emails that you get from me. If you go to my website, you can find it, all of those things, and kaplancoaching.com. You can find all more information about the kind of coaching I do, which is not just parent coaching, by the way. You can find information about the Enneagram, about internal family systems, about all the different modalities that I do, blah, 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 blah. So check all of that out. And to close, I am going to actually sing this whole little mantra by Rabbi Karl Bach for you, and you can honestly use this as a mantra. It's actually part of a practice we do at the very end of the retreat in the fall. The last day of the retreat, we do a little ritual practice that involves this song, and it's a really beautiful idea and practice for everyone to do. It's kind of a transformational exercise. In fact, I was talking to somebody, I think last week, and she had come on the retreat last year, and she's already signed up to come this year. And I was asking her, like, what's your favorite memory from last year? And she said, it was the exercise we did that involved this song. I'm not going to give too much away because I don't like to give too many spoilers about the retreat, but It is a pretty impactful little ceremony that we do. It's pretty nice. Okay. So here we go. And I will talk to you all again next week. And the song goes like this. Return again, return again, return to the land of your soul. Return to who you are, return to what you are, return to where you are, born and reborn again. Return again, return again. Return to the land of your soul. Bye, everybody.
The episode is over, but there's more waiting for you. You can grab my free workbook, Getting Kids to Listen the First Time, that walks you through the fundamental principles I teach all of my clients and applies them to this very universal parenting challenge. So if you're sick of repeating yourself all day long or just want to learn more about my style, you'll definitely want to go to bit.ly/kidswholisten. And if you're ready to work with me, let's meet. Set up a free call at bit.ly/Kaplan call, and let's create an action plan that gets you exactly where you want to go. And of course, links to all this goodness are in the show notes. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time.